Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gordon Frayne, and today we're back with another weekly update for the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market here on June 14th, 2024. As always, if you enjoy the content, please make sure to grab your free copy of my book, The Rise of Bitcoin. It's going to be linked in the description below. It's my gift to you. It's 100% free. Grab your PDF copy. It will not be free forever, so grab it while you can. And if you enjoy the content, please smash that thumbs up button. Hit the subscribe button as well and nail that bell notification icon so you can get notified every time we drop a new video. We're dropping videos every single day on the channel, so you're going to want to get notified when they drop so you can hit your crypto goals. So, jumping in, it has been another very interesting week in the market, and as of this morning or late morning, early afternoon, Bitcoin has dropped in price from just above $67,000 down to the $65,400 mark. Ethereum is sitting just under $3,400. We've seen small drops for BNB and Solana as well. Solana's all the way down to $142. So we're seeing a bit of blood on the streets here today, Friday, June 14th, with the drop in Bitcoin price leading to significant drops in many of the altcoins. We can see that there's very few coins up on the past 24 hours. All the rest are in red for the past 24 hours in the top 100. And if we jump over to the Bitcoin chart very briefly, we can see this breakdown happening here. Just a couple hours ago, we've seen this drop from 67,300. We're looking at the 15-minute chart here. We see that significant fall off here all the way down to pretty much the $65,000 mark, even before bouncing back up ever so slightly again. And as we said, we're currently sitting around that $65,500 mark. Jumping in to look at the overall crypto market cap, currently sitting at 2.37 trillion US dollars. That is down from this time a week ago when we sat above 2.55 trillion. So definitely with this latest drop, again, we're seeing this only in the past few hours, we are down in overall market cap, down to about 2.37 trillion US dollars overall. If we look at the top gainers and losers over the past 7-day time frame, once again, given the drop in market today, we have very few tokens that are in the green for the past 7 days. Toncoin, Uniswap, Monero, Oasis, Tron, LivePeer, and Notcoin being the 7 or 8 exceptions here in the green for the past week, and everything else in the top 50 is in the red. So again, some of the biggest losers here in particular, we're looking at Wormhole, Floki, Arweave, Brett, Celestia, BitTensor, Starknet, Dog with Hat down 20%, Internet Computer down 20%, Gala and Fetch down about 20%, SingularityNet down about 20%. So lots of blood on the streets here with many of the altcoins. Jupiter down 17% as well. Near and Render down about 18% respectively also. So lots of blood on the streets with this most recent correction. Again, we're looking for Bitcoin and seeing if it will hold this $65,000 mark where it seemed to bounce just in the past couple of hours. It seems to be holding here with a bit of resistance at the $65,000 level. If we zoom out to the 1-hour chart, again, we can see that significant drop, but the bounce on the 65K level, and still looking, not too bad when we zoom out to the higher time frames. Even going out as far as the daily chart, we can see here that we've got this somewhat bullish pendant forming, again, not due to fully execute the whole way through until the end of July. But if we stay, and this line of support here from February where we touched this $50,000 level, and again touching on the 58K level here in the beginning of May, this has stood as a strong support level over the course of 2024 thus far. So, we're still a good bit away from that support line level. And again, zooming out and looking at the bigger picture, nothing too much to worry about here at the moment. Jumping over to Bitcoin dominance, again, dominance is up on the week. We were sitting at a dominance of about just under 55% here last Friday, and we've gone up to 55.74% as of today. So again, you can see those alts bleeding out to, 30% on many of the alts, whereas, Bitcoin itself is only down 2% on the 24-hour time period. It is down a little bit more on the 7-day, but again, seeing those alts bleeding out much more heavily than Bitcoin means that the Bitcoin dominance has stood strong. So again, Bitcoin dominance still at this 55.74% level. Again, zooming out onto the higher time frames on the weekly chart, we can see that Bitcoin dominance has been continuously strong since the beginning of 2023 in this continuous uptrend and has not broken to the downside just yet, which indicates to us that we are still in a Bitcoin strong market. It is not quite alt season just yet, which brings us on nicely to the altcoin season index. And even if we look at the month time frame, we can see here that the score is 24, which indicates that it is a much stronger Bitcoin month than an altcoin month at the moment. We scroll down, looking at the top 50 performers over the past month. Again, this chart was predominantly green last week, but given the fact that we've had this bleeding of the market in the past few hours, we are seeing the majority of the top 50 now in the red over the past month time frame. Bitcoin itself is actually up just under 1% on the month time frame. We do have outliers and outperformers here like Toncoin, like Uniswap, like Caspa, Monero, Ethereum, Injective, Link, Pepe, Binance Coin are all actually in the green as well. Ton being the edge case outperformer here. So kudos to you if you've been in Ton for the past couple of months. It's been outperforming the rest of the market very strongly, but the rest of the market is in the red, with some of the worst performers being Arweave, Fetch, Near, IMX, Render, ICP, with HBAR, Tau, Optimism, Shiba, and CRO. All of those tokens are down at least 19 to 20% on the month. So again, still a Bitcoin strong month. Bitcoin dominance continuing in this uptrend that it has not broken out of for a year and a half at this point. So lots of positive sentiment for Bitcoin dominance there. Looking at the stock to flow model, again, always nice to check in here. We are still mapping to the stock to flow model. Again, it'll be very interesting to see if this does continue to hold. As we've mentioned in previous videos, the stock to flow model does see us potentially hitting that $100,000 mark by September of 2024 and upwards even of 250,000, upwards of 200,000 by the time we get to the end of this year. So again, will the stock to flow model hold strong as we move through the next 12 to 18 months? That remains to be seen, but technically we are still on par and on track with the stock to flow model. So let's see where it goes from here. Jumping into the narratives to date for the month of June, we can see here that app chains and the Bitcoin narrative are actually the strongest narratives of the month. A lot of the other narratives going into the negative here thanks to the market drop in the past few hours, but we have layer ones, centralized exchanges, real world assets, privacy, friend tech, NFTs, layer twos, and oracles being the best performing of a bad bunch when it comes to the narratives so far this month. And then down the end of the table, we've got ordinals, wallets, real yield, AI, Gamblify, account abstractions, and decentralized science. Always worth keeping an eye on these narratives because the assets that you're holding are going to be part of certain narratives that have their own run up at a certain time period during the course of the bull cycle. So always worth keeping an eye on the different narratives there. Next up, we've got the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And again, despite having had a very strong week last week, this past few days has been a bit of a different picture. We've seen outflows on 3 of the 4 days this week thus far. We've seen net positive inflows on June 12th, which was Wednesday this week. But apart from Wednesday this week, we did see outflows on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. Nothing quite as extreme as the inflows that we saw last week. So, we're still net negative for the week so far. We do still have to see Friday's numbers come in later today. But we have seen, this upward trend that we saw for the course of the second half of May and very beginning of June, with this sharp increase in accumulation last week from the ETFs, has begun to level out thanks to the outflows this week. Despite all of that, we do see that BlackRock have now accumulated over 305,000 Bitcoin. Grayscale have only 281,000 and are still the largest contributor to the bleeding and the selling of assets with the spot ETFs. Fidelity's in third place now, technically, with 172,000. We've still got ARK shares and Bitwise in the mid-table with 47,000 and 37,000 respectively. And then the end of the table, we've got Vanek Valkyrie, Invesco, Franklin Templeton, Wisdom Tree, and Hashdex. And if we do look at the total numbers of Bitcoin accumulated by all ETFs, we're looking at 878,000 Bitcoin over that number, which has been accumulated by all of the ETFs to date. So again, the ETFs continue to be on this general uptrend when it comes to net flows. Again, we saw it level out for a little period here at the end of March, start of April, a small bit of a dip at the beginning of May, but then we saw big surges here in the second half of May, starting to level out this week a little bit. But let's see how Bitcoin holds over the course of the next few days. And my perception is that we will see the continuous inflow of capital into the ETFs. Having natural sell-offs is going to be part of the journey. But as we continue to see Bitcoin price action move over the next 12 to 18 months, the ETFs will continue to be a big player in this space, which brings us on nicely to the cycle low multiple. And again, it's always worth zooming out and thinking about what's going on here when we're looking at the cycle low multiple, because of something like the events of the past few hours, where we have seen market crashes with the correction that we're happening right now. Bitcoin at 65,500 and many of the altcoins bleeding 10, 9, 8% in the past few hours alone. So, this is the short-term price action, but zooming out and looking at the macro scale, what we're looking at here is the price action of Bitcoin in the lead up to and aftermath of the previous Bitcoin halving event. Era 1, or the cycle 1 here in the blue line, showing us the price action of Bitcoin in the aftermath of the 2012 halving, the orange line showing us the price action of Bitcoin in the aftermath of the 2016 halving, and the green line showing us price action in the aftermath of the 2020 halving. So again, the red line here represents the current trajectory of this era or this cycle. Obviously, we just came through the most recent halving event, denoted here by day 0 in the chart at the end of April 2024. And for the first time ever, yes, we did put in a new all-time high for Bitcoin prior to the halving event occurring. But we are now seeing Bitcoin kind of going through this period of consolidation, which has basically been happening for the past 6, 7, 8 weeks. And again, jumping over to the Bitcoin chart, we can see this big accumulation period that's really been happening, since the beginning of March. For the past few months, we've been in this range and this accumulation period. And again, it's worth zooming out to just remember that we do typically put in all-time highs and parabolic moves for Bitcoin in the 12 to 18 months after the halving event. And that is denoted on the chart here with these price movements after 2012, after 2016, and after 2020. So again, I would say there's nothing to be too stressed about. It's worth zooming out, looking at the macro picture, understanding where we are in the cycle and the potential of where the price action can go over the course of the next 12 to 18 months. Again, history is not always something that is indicative of future price performance, but if we see rate cuts later in the year, if we see more inflow of capital into the space thanks to those rates being cut, then the knock-on effect is more capital flowing into this space, and the sentiment driven with the ETFs and the amount of capital that they're flowing into Bitcoin on a very consistent basis would lead us to believe that this period of consolidation is very healthy for Bitcoin, given the fact that typically the longer the period of consolidation, the higher upside we see thereafter. So let's keep an eye on this as we move through the next couple of months. Then finally, looking over at real world assets. Again, this is another area that we've made plenty of videos about on the channel. You can check those out, about Ondo Finance, about real world asset tokenization. But we're seeing the continuous inflow of capital into tokenized treasuries and into the real world assets space. We know that BlackRock launched a tokenized fund on Ethereum a couple of months ago. We're seeing increases here week over week, 2.34% increases in total value in terms of tokenized treasuries on the blockchain. We're seeing Ethereum, Stellar, Solana being the big players here when it comes to the different chains that are being used for US treasuries and tokenized treasuries on the blockchain. If we jump over to stablecoins, we can see again 156 billion worth of stablecoins tokenized on the blockchain. We've got an increase of 0.03%, but once again, Ethereum, Tron, Solana, Avalanche, and Arbitrum being the chains of choice here, making up the majority of tokenized stablecoins. Again, we're going to be keeping an eye on commodities and real estate coming soon in the future as well. But in terms of tokenized commodities, again, we're seeing small increases in the amount of commodities being tokenized on chain over the past week. And this whole space is going to grow exponentially over the course of the next decade. We are still very, very early in the whole world of real world asset tokenization. So that is the week update for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Obviously, we've seen a bit of a drop in prices over the past number of hours, but if we zoom out, look at where we are in the overall macro picture, I think there's, room for healthy corrections along the way as we see Bitcoin journeying through this price discovery back towards all-time highs and beyond. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please smash that thumbs up button on the video below on your way out the door. It would mean the world to me. And please make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this. We've got price predictions, analyses, and tutorials on the channel. You can check out all the other videos. Make sure to grab your free copy of my book, The Rise of Bitcoin, in the description below. Click on the link. It's going to direct you straight to get your PDF copy 100% free. So grab that while you can. And as always, we will catch you in the next one.